Hello, everyone. Welcome to 10 Minutes Astrology. Once a week, me and Alejo will be here to help you to learn astrology. And today we are going to learn something very interesting, very important, but very, very simple. It's called the hemisphere balance, right, Alejo?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Alejo,
Hemisphere balance. Yes.
yeah, could you give us some idea what is hemisphere balance meaning?
So the idea of the idea is that the hemispheres divide the chart in two. So each chart, so some charts will have the planets clustered, let's say, all together in one side of the chart, either the upper side, the lower side, or the left and western side. So when that happens, this means that a lot of our psychic functions, let's say, what the planets want, are kind of driven towards that direction of life. So it gives a particular color to life experiences.
Mm.
Sometimes they're
So,
not in balance. When they're not in balance, then it doesn't tell us much. But when there is an imbalance, like here, you can see clearly all
yeah.
of the planets. We're using the chart for those who are not seeing this. We're using the chart of Coco Chanel, who was born on the 19th of August, 1883 at 4 p.m. in Saumur, France. And you can clearly see that all of the planets are on the right side of the chart, which is the west. So there is clearly a lot of energy being driven towards that area of the chart. So that's going to be important.
Mm. So this is just to give you a quick idea about what does that mean. So usually it's very interesting because in the balance of the hemisphere, usually we will say the imbalance causes a little bit more characteristic. It's not neither good or bad, but it become a kind of a special theme and standing out, make this person so different or so unique. And I usually will say because people would just like to know is that good or bad. I mean, there's a lot of things in astrology. Well, for some people are good. For some people, that maybe that's things they like. But usually when we do that, we probably don't want to easily to say that is good or that is bad. Especially, some people maybe enjoy to like if they love hanging around with other people, have an interaction with other people, the chart like that would be very suitable for them. But if people have a lot of ambitions, but they still, they also focus on a lot of things with other people. They have to learn how to combine this energy together. So, Alejo, could you give us a little bit quick describe? So, I think the how to define the hemisphere.
So we have four hemispheres.
Mm-hmm.
One division is on the horizontal plane. So we take the line of the ascendant descendant, and we have the lower hemisphere, which would be houses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the upper hemisphere 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I deliberately call them upper and lower because, contrarily to what you think, the upper hemisphere is not necessarily the northern hemisphere. It's upper in the sense that it's a high in the sky. It's a part of the sky. Basically, the line between the ascendant and the descendant could be say it's the line of the horizon. So basically, everything that's on top is on the sky, and everything that's
Mm-hmm.
on the lower hemisphere is
Yeah,
hidden from the sky.
yeah.
So if you have a lot of planets in the lower hemisphere, these planets don't want to be seen, right? So probably that
Mm.
you're gonna be drawn inwards. Your internal world is gonna be important, and you're gonna need to
Mm.
kind of look within to find your path. If you have most of the planets in the upper hemisphere, so houses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the planets want to be seen, right? They are planets on the sky, so we can see them.
Yeah.
They're not buried under the ground. So there's probably going to be a lot of energy towards showing yourself,
Mm.
exposing yourself, achieving things, being seen by the
Mm.
world. This is kind of calling to be seen.
Mm.
The other division we can do is the east-west hemisphere. So if you're using Placidus, like Rod is using, you use the line between the IC and the midheaven, which is the beginning of the fourth house and the beginning of the 10th house, to divide the hemispheres. If you're not using Placidus, like I do, I use equal houses, you would use it's still the same thing. The lines between the fourth and the 10th house. So this is, it's always going to be the line between the fourth and the 10th house, which divides the chart in left and right hemisphere. The left hemisphere, yeah, here we have it. Yeah, the left hemisphere is always the east, and the west hemisphere is always the west. That's always the same. So you can say eastern and western. So if we have a lot of planets in the eastern hemisphere, then this means probably that the person is called to do things in life. The person feels, I always say the eastern hemisphere, this is not technically right, but this is the way I see it. The eastern hemisphere is ruled by the ascendant. So there's this idea of approaching life, of doing something.
Ah.
This idea of action, this idea that I go through life and I want to do things. I want to go into life. I want to act in life. And it's something about developing my individuality, my sense of self, right? If we have a lot of planets in the Western Hemisphere, I always say the Western Hemisphere is ruled by the descendant. So what matters is the other people. It's not so much my actions, my things, what I want to do, but what other people need, what other people want. So this is going to give us probably a quality in which the person is very focused on relationships, bonding, and creating relationships, and they may feel that they cannot take the reins of life. They may feel like life comes and brings stuff into you.
Yeah.
So
And
to do this,
sorry. No, go on. Sorry.
To do this balance, I would say I personally use all of the planets.
Yeah.
So the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron. I use all of them.
Yeah. So some beginner may ask, do you use the South Node and North Node?
But if you use them, because it's one of each side, so you're always going to compensate.
Balance.
So it doesn't matter
And
if you use them or
also,
not.
some astrologer like me, I will say, well, they are not planet; they are just a mark on the zodiac. So I prefer not to use them. If you want to use them, use them. Okay. So Alejo, maybe we should use this chart to talk about it. All right, because it's a very interesting, very distinguished about Coco Chanel's hemisphere balance, isn't it?
Sorry, I got distracted just a second.
Yeah. So
on
about
this chart, we have the moon is on the eastern hemisphere.
Yeah.
And we see that all of the other planets are on the western hemisphere.
Yeah.
It's obvious. I mean, you don't even have, sometimes you have to count them. This time you don't even have to count them. It's so obvious that there's an emphasis on the western hemisphere.
Yeah.
So there's an emphasis on relationships. And we know for her story that her relationships were super important in her developing her career. She wouldn't have achieved everything she achieved.
Yes.
Wasn't for that. So we would say that here there's a focus for relationships, there's a focus to meet people, to engage with people in her life. And then upper, sorry.
Go on. Upper.
With the upper and lower hemisphere. So in the upper hemisphere, we have Jupiter, Venus, Sun, Mercury, and Uranus. So we have 5 planets. In the lower hemisphere, we have the Moon, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, Saturn, and Mars. So we have 6 planets. So it's not really unbalanced. You see, it's very balanced. So in this case, we would imagine that there's both a need for connecting with her roots, her internal world, and also showing herself to the world and being recognized for that. What stands out from the hemisphere balance in this chart is not the upper and lower hemisphere, but the western hemisphere. The idea that relationships will be paramount for this person to develop whatever she wants to develop.
Yeah. So let me repeat, Alejo, what just says about if someone has a chart have a more focus. Alejo, maybe we can give a definition about how many planets would you count as more?
So, to be honest, if a hemisphere has more than 4 planets, then I don't see it as an imbalance. If it has 4 planets, I'm doubtful. I don't think it's so clear either. When it has only 3 planets or less, then I start seeing it as an imbalance.
Okay, be very clear. So if there is less than 3 planets, then you can start thinking about, is there an imbalance there? Another thing I want to add it on, but I don't know Alejo if Alejo see it like this or not, is don't see the hemisphere only have 3 planets as a problem. Don't go that way,
No, for
because
sure.
I don't know, but some astrologers do that. So because I do hear about a few, because I used to trying to learn with some astrologer, and they like to talk about the problematic. So they say, oh wow, this has only 1 planet in East Hemisphere. His or her problem or their problem is, I
Mm.
personally I prefer to see a chart is our potential. Well, yes, that could be
And
a problem, but we don't know how this person going to experience it. Alejo, please.
I would say what we want to do is to try to describe the chart. So
Mm.
for me, saying that is as wrong as saying your problem is that you're tall. Being tall is a description. It's neither positive or negative. Yes, it means that in some places I don't fit properly,
Uh-huh.
but then it also means that I can reach things that other people cannot reach. So sometimes it's an advantage, sometimes it's a disadvantage. So this is the same
Great.
thing. When we're doing the hemisphere balance, we're not judging, we're just describing. This is a
Yeah.
person for whom relationships are super important, and that's all
Yeah.
we're saying.
That's it. So if someone has like maybe we will say the more planet in the East Hemisphere, then like Alejo just mentioned, is someone coming to connect with this world, more focused on the ascendant side, right?
Yes. So
And
developing their identity and their sense of self.
okay, developing their identity. But if they have more planets, I mean more than 4, 5, 6 around the upper hemisphere, and they are more outgoing, and the people can see them out about.
Yes, they want to be recognized. Yes.
Mhm. So if they have the more planets between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 house, this is the lower part of the chart. Alejo call it the lower hemisphere, and that would be more intro or
Yes, they are driven to go inside
mhm.
to focus in their inner world, in themselves, in their history, in their past. Yes.
Cool, cool. Well, it is very interesting, and for me, it's so important because when I starting to prepare the chart reading, believe or not, astrologer have so many different types. But I think I believe me and Alejo, we are that type of astrologer. When we are going to see a client, we spend hours to prepare the chart. So
Mm.
that is a part of a beginner process for me to
Yes.
knowing the chart for the hemisphere analyze, and also like element and the quality and polarity analyze. This basic step make me have a first glance about is this person outgoing or inward? Is there imbalance? And when I say imbalance, I see it as a characteristic, a special thing, a particular thing, rather than I see it as a problem.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so this is a very interesting chart, a part of a chart integrate, and then we are going to more specified in the future. But Alejo and I, we come to the idea from the next episode. We're going to talk about something with a little bit deep, I think, with a little bit more deep in the astrology, right, Alejo?
Yes, we're going to be talking about something called the dignities of the planets.
Ooh, dignity. That is a very interesting concept. And then, so we will go through the planet by planet. So we have a chance to review the theme of planet, and then maybe we will bring a little bit more tips in about what is the dignity of planet. Because when I learned it, some people will just talk about that is good and that is bad.
Mm,
Only if astrology is that simple, we don't need 10 minutes. We just need 3 minutes to talk about it and bye bye. So,
yeah.
well, thanks everyone for watching and listening to 10 Minutes Astrology. Today we're talking about the balance of a hemisphere. And then from next week, we are starting to talk about the dignity of the planet. And each week, we will introduce one planet and the dignity sign and how to interpret that and how can you use it. Okay, so that would be very very interesting to focus on from the chart from next week. Thanks for everyone, and don't forget we still have our conference from the 1st to 3rd December, and please come to join us. You can follow the link in the below and then go to enroll. And we have so many track talk suitable for beginner. Welcome to join us, and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.